HIPPE uses the most up-to-date information on budgeting concepts, financial education, and credit information. We are educated professionals that bring the very best practices from experts in their fields for free as community charity.
HIPPE is not responsible or otherwise liable for any advice, guidance, or instruction that creates a negative outcome. Recommendations accepted by individuals are at the control and execution of those individuals, including all outcomes therein.
Aloha, and welcome to HIPPE's Financial 201 Training and Counseling. I'm Rick.
I'm Joni.
Let's get started. In today's series, we will discuss budgeting types. Now, this is a chance for us to reprogram ourselves to something entirely new, or maybe just support what we're currently using. Hopefully, it's an eye-opener for you.
Here's your first question. Have you ever thought of yourself as a chief financial officer? Businesses across the country have a CFO, and their job is to manage all the money for the business. Your job as a CFO of your life is to manage your expenses and your budget for your life. Here's your second question. Did you know that there's more than one way that you can make a budget?
Absolutely. This is a chance now to re-examine yourself. Are you being that CFO you should be? And do you have the necessary tools to be the CFO you want to be? Let's get started with taking the concepts that we're dealing with. Now, we're introducing concepts right now that make businesses successful. When businesses are successful, we now can figure out how they are being successful and apply that to your everyday household expenses, your everyday household goals. If a business is set up for success, it will thrive, it will nourish ourselves. Why can't we do that for ourselves? Why can't we do that to make ourselves achieve our goals? That's what we're going to figure out today. So we're going to start now with incremental. Now, incremental is a way where we take an inflationary cycle. We look at the past cycle of what we spent, and then from that past cycle, we now pad that future cycle so where we can now absorb any chances that the inflationary rise will affect us. And if it's not needed to be spent, great. You're going to hear this great word out there, discretionary funds. I love the word discretionary funds. Sometimes I say it the wrong way. Discretionary funds are funds that aren't spent. And you plan for it, you budgeted for it, and you know what? If it's not needed, great. It goes right back into your pocket or towards another goal or another savings. So with incremental, we have to take a look at what number we should use. Now, you'll find a lot of research out there that'll say, you know what? If you use a 3% inflationary rate, if it's going to cost 3% more for a gallon of milk, for the groceries that you buy, the gas in your car, can we survive? Can we still make it our day-to-day? Can we still get through whatever we got to get through for the time being? Now, it starts getting more tricky when we start looking at more expensive things. Now, if we know if we buy a car, it's going to be the same payment every single month. We know that for until the cycle's done, until you have that loan paid off. But what about things like rent? You know, if we look at $150 of gas, that $150 will only increase about $4.50 if we use a 3% inflationary rate. So if we take gas now and we apply an extra $4.50 per month, what do you think? Think we could survive by that?
Yeah, but you're going to probably have to cut out a Starbucks run or a coffee run because that's about $4.50.
Yeah, well, let's take a look at the opposite end of that. Let's take a look at a $1,700 rent payment. Now, if we get real about this, there's a lot of inflation when it comes to rents. Rents always go up. And if you're living in a place where it will continue to go up, you need a plan that it's going to be more expensive to rent something than it costs today. Now, if we take $1,700 of rent and now we apply 3%, we're talking about $51 a month. That's horrible. That's an extra $600 a year that we're spending on rent. Can you afford that? Can you plan for that? Does it feel comfortable to rent? Or can you get into something more structured, maybe something that doesn't change for the foreseeable future? This is why taking a look at your investments and how you work towards a financial goal also includes buying a home, something that will actually put something back in your pocket in the future rather than it going to everybody else. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. When you buy your own home, you kind of hedge against all the inflation, and that's going to be a steady rate of pay for your mortgage every month. Now, something I want everybody to think about. Everybody gets raises. You go through reviews annually, right? Typically, the typical raise that each person gets across the country is about 3%. Could you use incremental budgeting styles to do your budget for 3%?
Absolutely. It works both for debt and for income, but you need to also prepare for if it doesn't come in or if there's a job change. We have plenty of other budgets that help you to adjust to those kind of effects that either are planned or hit you right up front, real close to the chest. There we go. Let's get into the next one.
All right. The next one is activity-based budgeting. So activity-based budgeting is based off of just simply planning out your activities that you've done in the past. We know birthdays come, we know anniversaries come, holidays come every year. We can plan for those things, vacations as well. If you plan for those activities, then you're not scrounging for money when that birthday comes and you're like, oh, I should have gotten this person a gift and I didn't yet. However, if the money's there in a budget, easier for you to spend it, easier for you to plan for it, it's there.
And it doesn't dip into using a credit card. Now, we have more advanced techniques where yes, you use credit cards, and yes, you pay them off every month, and yes, you earn perks. Let's dial it down. Do we need to spend credit when we have cash in the bank? To keep yourself really low on your debt picture, absolutely. We need to make sure that we are saving ourselves some funds to make sure that we can support ourselves for any of those unforeseen expenses, the irregular expenses we talk about all the time. Now, this is also a chance to reflect on our current habits. So if our current habits are now exposed because we're going to line out an entire year of activity and we're going to figure out, do we need to spend this or is this purely a want? Now there's a whole other topic, the habits. What do you think about the habits, Joni?
Well, some people like their AC in the house during the summertime, and your electric bill is going to go up when you have that AC running all the time. But does it get hot here? Yeah, it gets really hot. But we can plan for those expenses. There's a way that you can actually save on your electric bill. And here's a tip that I actually use at home. If I'm not using my washer and dryer, I actually just shut off the breaker because it's not pulling electricity. It actually makes a difference on your electric bill.
Same thing with a stove, right? Anything that you're not using. If you're in a home that has a lot of rooms that are not being used, shut them down. There's still electric current that goes all over the place. And
unplug all those things out of the outlets as well. It really does make a big difference, but here's just a small tip for you actually to save a little bit of money on your electric bill.
Absolutely. Now, those habits also include things like holiday lights. I'm a big holiday lights guy, and I got to keep the place lit. Yes, I transferred over to LEDs, right? Because they're better for, everything, the bill especially. So you still have the same habits. You can have the same habits, but you have to modify those in such a way that you're still going to have some kind of cost savings, or just recognize that you're about to spend that money, lay it out to where you can see it, and be prepared to pay it. Other than that, you have other things that happen all the time. Vacations, or let's get into the Joneses.
The Joneses, geez. Does everybody have to have what the Joneses have? The true answer is no, you don't.
Yes. And
no.
And you know what? What matters to you and your family is what's most important. There's all these trends we've seen growing up all the time where everybody had to have something special, like everybody else had this one special thing that's in the market. Everybody had to have it. How about you stop and realize how quick is this trend going to go away? The trend's going to fly right by, and then you're left with all these trendy things that you don't use anymore. It's in the closet.
Somebody's going to say, oh, but that barbecue grill is like, I got to have it.
Yeah, well, are you going to use that barbecue grill? Are you actually going to make some food with it? Or is it just going to sit around collecting rust? This is the type of things that we have to realize, right? These things like the barbecue grill, or what are some other things out there that just
PS5.
Yeah, the video game consoles. Could you be applying yourself better than playing games? That's a whole other topic. You can see how when we apply activity-based budgeting, you got to think outside the scope. You got to think outside the box. What if those things you're paying for is actually causing you to lose time somewhere? Time is something you can't earn back. So it's not sometimes all about money. It's about where you're applying yourself day to day. Value proposition budgeting, my favorite one. So this is where we take the true worth of something and we need to find out, are we actually getting what we're supposed to be getting from what we're paying for? Are we getting a true worth out of it for the true cost of what it is we're paying for, sliding the card on, dropping the dollars on the table for? And yes, there's a lot of that out there. This is where we separate store-bought from store brand from regular things, marketing, advertising that you find on commercials, name brands. And sometimes we find out we're spending more money on these name brand items, and when you really look at it, you're spending it towards marketing and advertising, not necessarily for a better product. What do you got about this?
So this actually brings me back to a story about my child, my daughter, and she was in middle school. I said, oh, we need to go school shopping, school's starting again, and would you like to go to this store because they have cute outfits? And she's like, no, it's got a label on it. I don't want it because the company's not paying me to wear their label. They're making money off of everybody wearing their label. She's like, I'm okay not going there. I was like, that's a proud moment for me. But yes, labels, they do cost a little bit more. It's a style, or it's generic, generic medication. There's Kirkland brand. There's so many other brands that actually do perform well. We just have to consider it and give it a shot to try it.
Absolutely. So I love to bring up Tony the Tiger. You know, when you're buying that cereal, you're not necessarily buying a better flake. And there's plenty of research out there that will say that a store branded item will actually be a better product in some cases than the things that are actually being marketed. Now, we're not knocking name brands out there, but what we are saying, if you're going to buy that Tony the Tiger, you're also paying for that Tony the Tiger to be drawn. So you're paying somebody to draw it. You're paying somebody to animate it. You're paying for maybe that Olympian that's kicking around the soccer ball with Tony the Tiger. So now you're paying for that Olympian's paycheck to be there. All because you wanted that store, the actual name brand item, not the store brand item. So you got to realize if that's a quality of life thing that you must have in order to feel good about yourself, that there's a tiger on the box and life's good, great, it works for you. Keep doing it. If it increases your wellness, your mental state, go for it. It happens with everything else, including tools. It happens with everything out there. If I'm a construction guy or gal, maybe I want that Craftsman tool, or I need to get something that has a lifetime warranty on it. Or maybe if you're somebody like me that barely picks up anything unless I have to, then I'm just going to get the lowest priced tool out there because it's just going to sit in a box for years and I may pull it out maybe 10 times in 5 years, right? You got to consider all of this when we look at value proposition budgeting. Let's get into the next one.
All right, zero-based budgeting. This way of budgeting is used when there's an economic turndown. So it is bare bones bottom-up budgeting. It's tight. It's going to really focus on just the necessities to live. The roof over your head, the food you pay, the food on your table, the utilities to keep the lights on, your cell phone bill because it is a lifeline, your Wi-Fi. These are some basics that you have to have, sometimes just to survive.
Absolutely. Now, we have to consider, when do we need to activate zero-based budgeting? Maybe it's a situation where you just want a clean slate and figure out where you're at. Maybe it's something where you have a life-changing moment. Now, we have another budget for that. We're going to actually expose out zero-based budget in a whole other method. And it's purposely meant for when life smacks you in the face. And now you have to change some things. Now, when we talk zero-based as it is, this is our chance to really get creative and line up exactly how we're going to structure ourselves into different types of spending habits. Let's start with the chart.
Yeah, here's a simple spreadsheet of a budget. On the left, you have a list of items that you need to pay monthly. On the top row, you have your monthly income coming in. There's the second row, which is the dates that you're going to be paid. Here's an example of a bi-weekly budget where you're getting paid every other week. It's color-coded with green, yellow, red. On the green, ideally, if you can save 20%, I know not everybody can, but that's a goal, right? You should be paying yourself first. That's most important. In the red, these are the necessities, like you have to have the roof over your head, the electric bill, utilities. These things are a must pay every month. So you're going to zero down on all those items that you have to pay. And then you have the wants in the yellow. It could be food, and food is also a essential, but also food as entertainment going out. Yeah, we could sometimes cut back on going out, pauhana time, those things.
Discretionary funds.
Yeah, discretionary funds.
Right? So I always like to look at this and say, how can I even think about saving 20% of my savings, of my income? There's no way, Rick. How can I do this? And I tell myself that all the time because I've lived in that. Now, can you reformat yourself, maybe limit other things, or at least set up a goal where some of your consumer debt has a plan to be reduced? Then guess what? When that consumer debt's reduced, guess what we can replace that with? Savings. You just transfer that right in. That money's not yours. We talked about that in the debt management. When you actually tackle some debt obligations, that money's not yours to spend. That money's for yours to save. And Any other spending habits that you're able to reduce, that's, again, discretionary funds. You can use that for another plan. So I'll throw this one at you, Joni. We have to think outside the box all the time. Can I change my mindset, and instead of making savings a green down there in the bottom, can I make it an essential? Can I reprogram my mind to put a savings right up front, first line, and say, you know what? It's a goal for me to do X, Y, Z, and I need the money to do it. I'm establishing an essential savings that no matter what, I'm not going to fail on this. Is that something we can do?
Absolutely. You can also put in a line for activity-based budgeting, just activities, the birthdays, the anniversaries, the holidays. There could be a line inserted there for that type of planning also.
Not only that, but if you want to go super deep, this thing can be an entire year. You're just looking at a very small snapshot in time. What if we extended this an entire year? And now you see where those birthdays land for everybody that's in your life that you spend a birthday with, the holidays that come up, the school shopping, now you're programming all of that into the picture. And now you have a complete bird's eye view of where all the money's going. And guess what? When it gets a little more heavy on those spending habits, not necessarily habits, I'll say those activities that come up, there's that savings. And with that said, can you make other savings lines? Maybe I have a line specifically for school shopping. I have a line for that vacation. I have a line for each individual person's birthday for savings. Can you do that? Absolutely. The world's your oyster. You can figure out how you want to get what you want done, but it starts with having an idea. Can we do this on paper with a pen or a pencil and an eraser?
I actually want to point out, if you look on the right, there is a column that says extra savings. So in a bi-weekly pay period, you get paid every other week. So it's 26 weeks. You actually get 2 extra payments a year. You get paid twice, 2 extra pay periods in there, which it could be used for savings. It could be used for discretionary funds. It could be your holiday, budget.
It could even be a down payment savings for a home. These are things that you got to realize. And if you don't start somewhere, your dreams aren't going to get accomplished. You're not going to get to the next level, climb to the next rung, whatever way you want to say it. It starts literally here by deciding how exactly you want to get to that next goal. And if you need help getting to the next goal, people like us are around, and you just have to find us and we can connect you to those goals. But it starts right here, getting down to the nitty-gritty, finding out what exactly you need to do to control your spending habits and maybe create new things out there, and hopefully it will set your family up for success. Besides that, when we talk about budgeting types, we just have to recognize, are we here to establish ourselves and survive day to day? Or are we here to live, to actually enjoy life, have the funds available to actually partake in things that all families should partake? You can just think of anything that's out there, whether it's vacation, whether that's actually taking the time off of work to attend things for the family. You can't do that unless you establish yourself in order to save. Maybe at that point you can then live and not just survive while accomplishing your goals.
Yeah, this is going to take discipline. So it starts here, and the world is your oyster on the budgeting. You can plan it as best as you can, or sometimes it hurts you. But the goal is you take control, because you are the CFO of your life. That's very important. And you go from there.
Excellent. Thank you very much for joining us today. Again, you can find us on Facebook at HIPPE.education or even Instagram. And please check us out. Do your survey there and tell us how we can improve this, or just leave a comment on what you would like to see next.
We're also on YouTube. If you search HIPPE Podcast, you please like and subscribe. There's a lot of information out there for you guys to learn. So thank you again for joining us.
Absolutely. And check out our www.hippe-education.org. And very lastly, hopefully you will find us on Olelo. Come check us out. Come check out all the other content that's out there. And we hope to see you guys again. Have a good day.